Um, we're gonna try to get the show going. I I hope everybody's doing all right. Tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about the the country, the situation in which the country is in, and the things that are happening around us, and kind of put some perspective on the way people should see these things, and be able to understand them a little better. Um, because there's a whole lot going on, and we need to be able to see this thing for what it is and understand what it is we seeing. Um, One thing I want to touch on. Sometimes I go through different videos, just looking at things and listening to people, and just to see what people are listening to, and what people are talking about. And one of the things I did find that I listened to was one thing I want to touch on that I found that people listening to is Razor is Islam. And I was listening to this, and I noticed that the guy he brought up about um the ivermectin, the drug for COVID that a couple people done used and saying it works. And he presented this as if somehow this was the ivermectin, or or um or any of the other COVID vaccines. Somehow this ivermectin, he made it like, oh, they trying not to push the ivermectin because they're trying to push these other medicines, because this is the medicine they making the big bucks off of, even though this ivermectin work. And the reason I bring this up, I just want people to get the concept of understanding when what wealth, not having wealth, really looks like. And when you listen to people talk and not understanding that white wealth is like the ocean. I'll say it again. White wealth is like the ocean. So, meaning like the mud hole in your yard. They got a mud hole in your yard. That water will eventually end back up at that ocean. And that's how money works too. It flows back to white pockets. And the reason I bring this up is because of that. It's always, to me, it's about connecting the dots to wealth and understanding what that wealth look like when you don't have it. When you don't have it. And when you listen to people that talk and don't focus on what wealth look like. And how do you think they can lock out white wealth? So right here, I'm gonna share this screen here because I want to share about what company owns ivermectin. Because that's the key. It's just a little research. Because a lot of times people are giving credit to people as if they know a lot or they deep. And a lot of times all it takes is a little research. I always say if people would take that smart device and just kind of answer the right questions, sometimes you'll be shocked at what you may find. Let me share this with you to show you what I mean. That it ain't no way to get around white wealth. So right here, we got this company right here, the Merck family. It's a German family. It's a German family that owns this company. Now, let's think about German. These are the same people that do not like black folks. You know, that very well got a lot of their methods from America. But ivermectin is made by this family. The company they own, the Merck Group, is the company that made ivermectin. And if you read this, a very large white-owned company. So how does this benefit ADOS people just because they take ivermectin or because somebody wins a lawsuit, an individual win a lawsuit because they found out that ivermectin, that you could use ivermectin? You know what I mean? That money still goes back to the ocean. It don't really help the collective. So I want my people to start, when you start hearing these people speak, you need to say that what should always be your litmus test for any black person you listening to. How does this benefit black people financially, ADOS people financially? Because a white pocket is a white pocket, period. It's nothing deep about you pointing me to go spend or believe in another white pocket versus another white pocket. It all goes back to white wealth. So I wanted to point that out because, you looking at people that's listening to this stuff, and to me, they don't understand that this is still white wealth. And the way he really presented this to black folks on the show he was on, as if he had discovered something amazing that they trying to block ivermectin. It works. It's just another white old company, bro. And it's the same man that came out when COVID first came out and was saying black people can't get it. One thing I want ADOS people to start to do is keep up with people's track record. And the reason I want you to keep up with that track record and have long-term memory, because having that long-term memory is going to let you know what a person is about. If you see a person that you done lifted up, and this particular person, he or she deals with everybody, like they get along with everybody, that's still the status quo. I get a lot of people, they say, we got to go against the status quo, blah, blah, blah. But know and understand, if you deal with somebody that you watch and you are lifted up and they deal with everybody, that's the status quo. They haven't done anything any different. Know that our freedom struggle is very controversial. And the ADOS movement, the reason we don't deal with everybody, because people don't stand on their square. It's a lot of people in this space that are only in this space, period, for self-gain and for their personal gain. That's just the facts of it. And we need to be aware of that. So we should always be aware of that. All right. So I just wanted to touch on that. I saw that earlier, and I just needed to touch on it because I need our people to be able to connect the dots to who grifting, who really stand with you, and we got to be careful who we lift up. Always being careful who you lifting up, because if we talk about accountability, when we talk about accountability comes to who you are lifting up. Are these people 100% on code with the collective, pushing that collective to the ultimate goal that get us access to America? I read an article earlier today, and it was talking about that in this country right now, we having renting wars where people are bidding on rental properties, where you pull up and the property goes up. People are bidding on rental property. That's where we at. Not only they bidding on buying home, they bidding on rental properties. In a time when ADOS people are stuck living off income, we are having to compete with bidding wars on rental properties. So these times are getting tight and get hard. So this is the moment we need our people to know that the critical thinkers are going to win this war. Make no mistakes about it. Anybody that tells you it's an easy rap, that it's an easy rap to this thing to win it, is lying. It's not going to be an easy battle. But if we stay focused, we can win this battle. One thing, so the night show is called Junior's Return to Tote in the Water. And the reason I named this show, cause what I kind of thought about in my life was my upbringing. A lot of times I focus on like our ancestors, and you kind of a lot of times focus on your ancestors. You forget about your lived experience sometimes. So one thing I want to touch on before I present my presentation to you, the state of Black affairs, is my lived experience. See, when I grew up, I had to tote water into our house, meaning we didn't have no running water. And this was in the late 90s, early 2000s. This wasn't in the 1965s. This is current times. And the reason I bring this up about toting in this water, because what happens to our people a lot of times, we so thirsty for success of the feel like we got upward mobility. We would drink the water out the mud hole with a dead rat in it. That's what'll happen if you thirsty and you need water. Meaning you got to drink any water you get to. Because we know 70% of the body is water. Over 70% of the body is water. 84% of the brain is water. So that means the body needs water. It's just like we, as ADOSHQ people in this country, been at the bottom so long that we get desperate to feel as if we have had access to upward mobility. That it's almost like a craze. Not like it is. If you thirsty, you'll drink water from anywhere. Most people don't understand that. When we hauled that water to our house, we needed water to take baths, to drink. We had to get the water, so we had to haul it. So we need to remember that when you're thirsty, you're going to drink the water from wherever it's coming. So knowledge is the same way. If 85% of us listen to garbage 85% of the time, anything we hear becomes deep. It becomes deep because 85% of us is so shallow. We're so shallow when it comes to our thinking that anybody speaking becomes deep. So, and when I say they become deep, they just come out and say things and nobody fact checks them because people are too lazy to research. Even though they tote, they keep that smart device in their hand all the time. They won't fact check. They won't research simple things. So it becomes fact. And that's what happens a lot of times. Things become facts that are fiction. And we need to be careful about that. Because all the time, we must know that if you listen to Kamala Harris speak and you say, man, she knows some stuff, and you don't hear the stupidity in what she's saying, how backwards she is, this could be a sign you listening too much junk to anything you listen to you think is deep. And that ain't the case. Shallow mentality is true. So we need to understand that. We need to challenge things. We need to have long-term memories so we can keep a track record on people in this space that say they here for the collective. Falling for the okie-doke because they believe fast talkers who project intelligence. That's exactly what we do all the time. No different than the shallow mentality. We got to understand this thing. So what I want to share with you is tonight, I'm gonna bring some data into this conversation because there's a lot of moving parts. But one thing for a fact, the numbers are the numbers, and the data is the data. Not listening with a critical ear. You definitely got to be listening with a critical ear at all times. So what we're going to do, I'm going to share this with you. The presentation we're going to go over right here. So this is my presentation on the state of Black affairs. Misunderstanding the how. Now, I'm going to give credit to Johnny. Johnny helped me on this thing. Matter of fact, Johnny set this presentation up. Me and him just kind of went back and forth over what the topic should be. And we went from there. So this document, what I want to do with this document is basically expose the state of Black affairs. And most of this gonna be around our thinking. The way we think, the way we see things. And a lot of times, the way we see things ain't the way they are. So basically, the way you see something ain't always as it appears, especially if it don't align with the data. I said it again, especially if it doesn't align with the data. So, I'm gonna scroll down on this. Hold on. The first thing we want to talk about is the gig economy. And the reason I want to talk about this gig economy, because it's a lot of people out there tonight that's driving Uber, DoorDash, because the job they work ain't paying enough and they need extra income. Or the job they had, they lost. And they need to do something to get income. Understand, this conversation is not about you not working at all. Make no mistakes, we gotta work because you gotta eat. What this conversation is about is that you got to do politics. That politics got to be as important as drinking water is. That's how desperate we need policies that are in our favor. It must be no different than the desire and the need that you got to have for water. That's how important your politics got to become. In this economy of rising costs, grocery store going up, taxes going up, car prices going up, the labor to fix your old ran down car is going up. The only thing that can help us in this moment ain't the next hustle. And I'm going to show you that too. Because I'm going to attack that hustle and flow mentality. I'm going to attack this entrepreneurship that is not happening in ADOS communities at a level that's effective for the group, for the collective. Now this gig economy, and basically the gig economy that I'm talking about, it is which you talking about people doing independent contracting. Large number of people working part-time, a temporary position. Uber, Airbnb, for those willing to use them. This is what it's about. The gig economy can have a downside due to eruption. You talking about economy, relationship between workers and business. So understand, if you work for a company, right? What we're gonna do a comparison is working for a company and working on your own, where all the risk is on that individual person. And the person that works for the company, all the risk is on the company. So we both drive a vehicle. One person drives a vehicle that's owned by the company. If he wrecked the vehicle, the company replaces the vehicle, send him to the hospital, and that person gets the treatment they need. The person that's working in this gig economy wrecks their car, they out of a car. They have to go pay, and they're responsible for their doctor bill. And they're responsible for the other person if it's a two-car accident. All that falls on you. Your doctor bill falls on you. The person that got the protection of the company is all on the company. So what I'm saying to you, be careful of people telling you to hustle and grind. I ain't saying you ain't got to eat, and I ain't knocking nobody that's doing this. I know why you doing it, because you ain't doing politics. That's why you've been forced to do this thing. That's why you've been forced to do DoorDash. That's why you've been forced to do Uber, because you're not doing politics. You being done by politics. Because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And this is what it looks like to be on the menu. You're door dashing and Ubering, trying to survive, because you're not doing politics. What you are doing is listening to people tell you what helps you, instead of you understanding what helps you and what makes you whole. You let them bring the plan to you, and that's why you got this gig economy. That's why you got this gig economy. The no benefit economy. Exactly. Just like somebody said in the chat, they should call the gig economy the no benefit economy. Because that's exactly what it is. It's the no benefit economy. So also we talk about insurance. When we talk about insurance, the difference income and insurance, how to make up by government assistance. When you work for the company provides you that. When you're out here on your own, that's all on you. So a lot of times these things we want to try to hustle because we're trying to eat. End up, we thinking we're going to move 2 steps forward, we go 10 steps backwards as soon as something goes wrong. And we got to understand that's why you go 10 steps backwards, because the whole setup of this is set up against you. It's set up against you. Because what? You didn't do no politics. You ain't do no politics. While they was putting you on the menu, you was trying to hustle because you thought you didn't have to be at the table where they make all the rules. And you got to be at the table where the rules are being made. I'm going to go down this thing because we're going to talk about what a lot of blacks going to try to tell you that'll fix this. We call this internalized hate and bootstrapping. And understand, these things come from we've been dealing with oppression for over 400 years. And sometimes dealing with those oppression can really warp the mind. I call my show Breaking the Mental Chain, because when you have to deal with this kind of oppression, sometimes even our thinking, the way we think, it's almost like white supremacy. Not almost like it. A lot of times you hear ADOS people regurgitate the words of white supremacy. That's because the brain has been warped for 400 years of dealing with oppression. That's what happens. So when we talk about this internalized hate, often it isn't reflected with one's look in the mirror. It's not really how you see yourself when you look in that mirror, but how you look at others enduring the financial hardship. Because what we'll tell ourselves is, well, William did it to himself. He shouldn't have went out of town last week. He went out of town and spent money he didn't have. So now his lights off. And they can't pick his car up. Sure did. But nobody never understanding that William been living check to check. When he went out of town, his check engine light came on and all hell broke loose. Because that's all it takes for 90% of ADOS people is a check engine light. And it throws a hook in everything. You talking about Nixon in this. You know how he basically took the Black Power rhetoric and started using it. He weaponized it, made us feel good with it. Now understand this whole theory around being entrepreneurs originated with Richard Nixon, and we still running with it right now in 2022. We still running with a white supremacy ideal right now and don't know it. He originated the way we think about black entrepreneur, black enterprise, black economy, segregating ourselves in a system, not understand this economy. We are tied together in this economy. It's no separating one group from another group. Meaning, when you walk in the store and somebody white walk in the store to buy a bar of soap, the same price of that bar of soap for that white person is going to be for you. No matter if you go get land, the same price that land costs, well, I might take that back because white people got what we call social capital. So they may be able to get that land cheaper than you because they got social capital. And by us being a wealthless group, we don't got social capital. So we may end up paying more for the land, but still bragging about owning land when we get the land, even though we overpay for it. And the reason I bring this up is because it's 100% of the time what happens. I say all the time, if black folks can have a real conversation when they talking with one another, expose the details of the finalized paperwork on the land you just brought. Tell me how they gave you a high interest rate on it. Because if you can tell yourself the truth, you can understand you ADOS. And that this debt has been stacked against you. That when you purchasing a home and telling yourself you own it, no, you don't. You just purchase it. You don't own it to that final payment. No different than you buy that land. You don't own it to that final payment. We call it owning a home when we go get approved for one. So if Richard Nixon tricked us with being entrepreneurs, with the black enterprise, and we still using it to this day, tell me this, how deep are we really? And how deep are the people we are listening to? If they still telling you to do this, right? Reza Islam is telling you to still do this kind of stuff. He's saying we got to fix ourselves, as if we broke ourselves. Hold on. He telling us to fix ourselves as if we broke ourselves. If we didn't break ourselves, the people that broke us, the government that broke us, need to fix us. And this is exactly right. We're going to pay more because of redlining. See? And understand, all this stuff been going, we blaming ourselves while these people build a system totally against us. And all we've been doing is blaming ourselves. When you think about redlining, we didn't redline ourselves. The government redlined us. The government redlined us. We didn't do it to ourselves. The government did it. Yet people telling you the government can't help you. If the government can plunder you, the government can help you. The thing you got to understand and tell yourself is what you're going to do to make that government do what you need to do to be made whole. And you got to stop saying what can't happen and start saying what you're willing to do and what you're willing to sacrifice to make it happen. Don't stand up and tell me what can't happen. Stand up and tell me what you're willing to do to make it happen. Stop telling me what you don't got time for. It's time for us to stand up and do what we got to do politically. Period. It's no running away from it. There's no running away from it. See, the theory went that black business and black banking would be the key to black economic progress because and would allow black communities to use their own money to create a black capitalism, at the same time neutralizing black resistance, to enlist the full-throat support of many activists while also furthering his coalition desire for diminishing social safety nets. That's what Richard Nixon did. That's what he did. How is it that we still got Negroes running around pushing the same method? In 2022, Negroes still running around pushing the same method. This is why it's important to do research. Listen, if you don't remember nothing else I say, stop just listening to people saying they deep. We got thousands of people following people. They're saying it ain't no slave ships. We got historians and divers that's putting the slave ships back together. We got people still following people telling them it ain't no slave ships. How? It took centuries to break us, therefore reparations must be a multi-generational plan. That's right. It ain't gonna be a one check. If it took multiple generations to break us, it's gonna take that same thing to fix us. But our people must stand up so we can be fixed. We got to stop standing back, being idle. It's time to stop being idle. And it's time to stand up and get involved. Take the initiative. Take the lead. Educate. Become that critical thinker. Become the critical thinker. Hey, this is the truth. The USA has billions to send to racist Ukraine. And make no mistake, Ukraine is very racist. Very racist. I got to ride down my road, the highways, and see we stand with Ukraine. Who is we? Who is we? I need to know who is we. Because ADOS don't stand with Ukraine. Because Ukraine don't stand with ADOS. See? But I bet you they won't put up no sign, no billboard sign saying support reparations for ADOS people. Stand in solidarity with the oppressed group that been oppressed for 400. I bet you don't see no billboard sign saying that. But you know why you don't see a billboard sign saying that? Because our people won't stand up and make their litmus test reparations and a transformative black agenda. We want to do this here. We want to do this internalized hate thing. We want to do this bootstraps. This is what we want to do. While the government sending these billions over to Ukraine. Nobody talking about it. Everybody quiet on it. Everybody trying to write a grant. I'm going to write a grant. Yeah, because that grant going to fix something. If the grant writing fixed something, your community wouldn't be in poverty still then. If grant writing fixed something, your community wouldn't be in poverty. That means that method has failed you, and you need to know it don't work. And you also need to know taking pictures with politicians don't lead to policies for your people. It's just symbolism, and they use you as a prop. You were just used as a prop. Make no mistake about it. Now see, the theory went that black business and black banking. The effect of these policies are still felt by black families today. Black capitalism delegated the responsibility to solve the racial wealth gap to the black community without help of the white political establishment. That was the key. See, this man pulled such a trick that he was able to pull the safety net out from under us. Out from under us. We were so hooked. Just like in the chat, grant writing fixed their pockets. That's who grant writing fixed. It fixed their pockets, not ours. So basically, when you get this, once again, when people write these grants, they get themselves job titles. And in them job titles they give themselves, they get paid something. It becomes their fund money. Now, to me, if you really about your people, you would be willing to do what it takes to fix your people, not just yourself. Not just yourself. And like I said, this is just what it is. We must see what ain't working. We got to be able to see what's not working. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Educated stealing. That's exactly what it is. So we're going to stroll down to the next part. Now, this part was about internalized hate and bootstrapping. We must get rid of these things. If you got a problem with seeing other ADOS people have money, have wealth, and be able to thrive, that's where your hate lies in. If all you want to tell them is how to bootstrap, knowing it don't work because we know it don't work, because we still at the bottom financially. We got a big wealth gap. It don't work. We know bootstrapping don't work. So stop talking to me about bootstrapping and start talking to me about what kind of political imagination you have that you can see that can help your people. Period. So we're going to go down, I'm going to stroll down to this next part of this thing. And this is the economic legacy of current and last two presidents. Now, the reason I want to bring this up and talk about it is because and yeah, you're right. You're right about that. This LLC CEO get paid from grants. That's right. A lot of LLCs, they get paid from them grants. Right here is where I want to connect the dots to. When people want to sell you on Democrat, Republican, and not see them as, period, different title white supremacy. It sums it up. Democrat, Republican, different types of white supremacy. Just with different titles. So we're going to talk about these. The current president, which is Joe Biden. ADOS was the only one. ADOS was the only one hammering people not to vote down ballot Democrat. Why? Why we did this? Because we understood what we was willing to make a sacrifice. I mean, in all fights, make no mistake, if anybody tells you that you ain't gonna bleed in a fight, win or lose, you're gonna bleed in a fight. You're gonna have to be willing to bleed to change what this country is doing, to fix us, our people. You got to be willing to make a sacrifice, and that sacrifice gonna come with bleeding. Period. Listen, in all fights, I don't care if you beat somebody up. You may bust your knuckle punching them. You gonna bleed in that fight. And we got to understand it. So here, this chart right here kind of goes through under all the presidents, starting with your boy Obama, that a lot of you in love with. He failed you. Stop clapping for him when you see him. Politicians, that, in the great words of Yvette Carnell, politicians respond to pressure, not applause. And if he failed you, what is you still clapping for? Gas over knocking that $5 a gallon. You still clapping. Joe Biden has failed you. You still clapping. Kamala Harris has failed you. You still clapping. I don't know how you going to hold somebody accountable at the same time, clapping at the same time. That ain't no accountability. Accountability would be calling them out for starving your community out. That's what it looks like. I'm sorry if you thought it was another way. As in the chat, what Vino said, Democrat and Republican, two wings on the same racist white supremacy bird. Same bird. Same bird. So if they the same bird, what we got to come to the conclusion of how we put pressure on this damn bird when he need water. Because one thing for a fact, that bird gonna need water. See, you got to find the power you got and learn how to weaponize it. That's what I mean by the bird gonna need water. So he's like trained seals, just like a seal, just clap. We got to stop it. So we look under Obama here, and this is trillions. This thing didn't really do the numbers right, but that is $6 trillion there when we look at 2008, and this is under President Obama. Now, what this chart, and the reason I'm gonna go with private business, because I'm going private business to let all the entrepreneurs and the bootstrappers out there know you don't have a chance as an entrepreneur. You ain't got enough. And the government gonna make sure you can't compete with white folks. How do I know this? Because I'm looking at them. Under Obama, they got $6 trillion. Now, if you take that $6 trillion and because I know some of you Negroes out there gonna try to say, oh, well, white people are a bigger group, so they just got more money. They just got more money because they're a bigger group. Well, what I did with that $6 trillion is I took it and did it as them being 60% of the population. What they should have got by them being 60% of the population, they should have got $3 trillion. So what the government did is gave them more than they needed. More than they needed. That's right. They respond to pressure, not applause. What they did is gave them almost twice the money they need to do business. Now, we're going to look at what they gave, what Obama gave to black folks. Since people say he did something for black folks, he helped black folks, he did something for black folks. Okay, we're going to let the data tell us what he did and didn't do. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to let the data tell us what he did and didn't do. Because some of y'all trying to say he did something, but the data say something totally different. Could you be just talking fully from your emotions? Here, we ain't talking from emotion. We're going to put facts behind this. Now, right here, black folks got $142 billion under Obama. Okay, we 14% of the population. According to us being 14% of the population, we should have got $840 billion. So we didn't even get enough. We did not even get enough money from Obama for Negroes to be sitting around trying to tell me he did something for black folks. And I'm stick. You can look this up. Johnny put it in the link. You can look this up yourself later on. Because at the end of this thing, Johnny posted it in his chat. We also got a source that you can go. And this is another thing I want you to see how we got all this information. We're going to give you the way you can fact check it. Because we need you to be critical thinkers. Because in this war we in, we need critical thinkers. So that's why we lay this information out like that. We give you the information and go research so you can sit somewhere and explain to people it ain't no such thing as people of color. Because this data right here is showing you it ain't no such thing as people of color. It's ADOSHQ people that being starved out and everybody else being treated white. Make no mistakes about it. So, if you stroll down, you go to 2012, and the numbers just get worse. The numbers just keep getting worse. Every time. So, if you notice at the first of this chart, 2008, I said black folks white people got $6 trillion. We were supposed to get $840 billion, right? So, if you stroll down this chart through Obama term, and then we hit right here in 2016, this is doing Trump term. Right here, if you come across, you'll see white people under Trump got $8 trillion. Now remember in the first chart under Obama, I said we needed 840 to be able to compete business-wise with white folks. We still at 230 billion under Trump. Theirs shot up. That's almost $2 trillion more dollars under Trump. What this data has just showed you is white people for its private business, and you, if you want to later go through all these, I'm just focusing on private business to kill this entrepreneur hype. Understand, through Obama and Trump, they gained $2 trillion. We still didn't never get what we needed in the first place to be able to compete. We still were starved out of business. We were starved out by the government. Not no doing the only thing I'm blaming us for is not doing politics and not pushing for policies that's specific to us and ADOS people need. Not no people of color need, but ADOS people need. See, we got to stop being the mule for everybody. This is what this data telling us. We got to stop being the mule for everybody and worry about our own people. Stop being the daggone mule. I mean, if the data was different, I would say something different. But I can't. The data is saying this is what's happening. And even when you come down here on the old Sleepy Joe, oh boy, we on the old Sleepy Joe right here. Old Sleepy Joe, he done broke them off real proper already. $13 trillion for private business for white folks. This is for white folks. Now, I done went under 2 Democratic presidents, 1 Republican president. And white people are ate off the plate every time. Every time they ate off the plate. Every time. Once again, look at us. $324 billion. We still didn't get to the $840 billion. And we got black people still rolling with Richard Nixon. Thinking. Still hooked on. That means what you're doing is listening to a lot of people. They stuck in a time machine. They stuck in a time and era that no longer exists, and they still trying to use that thinking though. It don't exist no more. But black people like, man, shoot, we gonna use that thing. We ain't gonna let it go. You see, just hey, men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie. That's the data. That's the data. See, that's the data right there. And this link, check this link out Johnny posted there. You got Elon Musk worth $238 billion. 2 white people worth all of black business. 2 white people. And you got it's a Negro sitting somewhere right now trying to convince you all you got to do is work hard. They gonna listen. I know it feels good. I know without a shadow of a doubt, right? It feels good when you sit in the like these people tell you to go do these presentations about being an entrepreneur and you trying to sell something, and they sit in that boy, you start tingling all inside, just thinking you gonna make some money. Feel good don't lead to good outcomes though. I'm sorry. They may stroke your ego. It may make you feel good. That don't do nothing to make you able to compete against all this money the government done gave white folks. I'm sorry. Sometimes you just gotta understand. See, we don't have the money to compete. Why these black entrepreneurs can't grasp they spinning their wheel? Listen, and Ms. Union right here. They spinning their wheels. They are spinning their wheels. It's the definition of insanity is to do something over and over again. The same thing over and over again, expecting a different daggone outcome. You're not going to get a different outcome until you do something different. Until you do something different. That means don't bring me no outdated idea from 1970. for 2022 with no data to support that the ideal will work. That's simple as it gets. Don't bring me no information from 1970 for 2022 with no data to support the ideal. So if I got the data and my ideal is we got to get reparations and a transformative black agenda, and we got to stop being the mule for everybody else and be the mule for our own people. And don't be scared to say that, because if you're scared to say that, you ain't going to be a good candidate to be in that room to speak for your people neither. Because what you're going to try to do when you get in that room is get something for yourself. See? And we done with that too. Here at Breaking the Mental Chain for the ADOSHQ, our goal is to break the status quo. And we're going to do it with a political imagination. Make no mistakes about it. See, you got Jeff Bezos over there, 141 billion, and got Negroes trying to tell you you can compete in an economy when you live when people got that kind of wealth. The data say you can't. I'm sorry. Do some daggone politics. So, what we going into now is of the current and last two presidents. That's what that showed. This data was basically showing you that white people wealth has grown under all three presidents. So basically, when that tells you also something else, that white people doing politics like playing who their favorite team is. 49ers versus Dallas. Who you got? I got 49. You got Dallas? Okay. Oh, man, after it's all over, they act like they hurt. Man, you know Dallas lost. We'll get you next time. But black people, we ain't in the same boat. We ain't in that same boat that they in. This space between Democrat and Republican, our livelihood is dependent on it. How we eat, if we eat tomorrow, is dependent on it. While white people playing a game with it. You see why I say you can't be sitting around thinking that white folks gonna tell you something to free yourself? They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that. And what's got to happen is we got to start understanding that no white man is gonna tell you something. No white woman is gonna tell you something that frees you. Trust me, you're gonna have to figure that out on your own. And this is what the data is doing. This is what the ADOS Advocacy Foundation is doing. It's giving information that's going to help us free ourselves and give us the answer to what that roadway ahead should look like. Period. And we must understand that we are in a different America than our parents and grandparents were in. And we must move differently, which is what ADOS is doing. That's right. Now listen, I get it. You love your mama, you love your grandma, you love your granddaddy, you love your daddy. That's cool and dandy. But an outdated ideal is an outdated ideal. Now, I ain't saying you knew this from the word go. You might didn't understand this from the word go. But that's why we keep talking. That's why Yvette, that's why Tone, that's why me, myself, keep saying we must become politically educated. And when we say politically educated, it ain't just telling somebody where to go vote at. People, you got black organizations out here saying we educating voters. We registering voters and we educating voters. And their piece of education simply is where your voting poll is. Is you crazy? That's not politically educating nobody. That's making them be a mule for the Democrat or Republican Party. That ain't making no demands. Get out of here. Have political if you're going to politically educate people, what I'm doing right here is that. If you ain't doing that, you ain't politically educated nobody. Period. I don't care if you don't like it. You ain't did it. And you should get out of the way of the people that will politically educate people. Our income can't compete with their inheritance and policies that benefit them. Listen, this is what the government gave them. But understand, inheritance ain't even included in that. So on top of the government giving them more money than they need, they also get inheritance. And the reason they get that inheritance, because you come from the slaves. And that money that coming through inheritance connects back to slavery. So they also get you there too. So you getting stumped on all over the place while you run around and listen to people that leads you in the wrong direction. And you lift people up that leads you in the wrong direction. This must stop. And we must start to understand it's the things that fix us and look for those solutions. And pay attention to the people that pushes those solutions. These defense contracting companies are some of the biggest welfare recipients. Oh man, sure is. Sure is. All day long. All day long. So it'll be white folks that'll try to tell you, right? I hear this a lot amongst a lot of Republican white folks. And what they'll try to tell you is this. You don't want big government. You don't want no government help. You don't want the government in your business. Hold up. We don't want big government, and we don't want the government in our business. When 100% this person is telling you that, why you think he's telling you something to free you? He basically trapping you and leading you to the slaughter. Because his life is set up so good because of government. Slavery, implemented by government. Jim Crow, implemented by government. Who benefited from slavery? The same white man that's telling you you don't need government. Who benefited from Jim Crow? The same white man or woman, because make no mistake, white people, their wealth is held in white families, not white individuals. I say it again. It's held in white families. Because another thing they'll try to trick you with is somehow the white woman is a minority. How did she become a minority? What tricks they done played on us? Look at the tricks they done played on us. Look at the tricks they done played on us because we ain't paying attention to that. They done tricked us to believe white women are minorities. Just think about how crazy it is. Just think about it a minute. The very woman that birthed white men is a minority. And the data shows you how wealth is held in white family. And then the biggest recipient of affirmative action is white women. Because we keep falling for the okie doke. Because we don't make demands that focus on ourselves. We get caught in all the feminists. Oh, we women, we need to stick together. And white women running off with the bag back to their white husband. You heard white women running off with the bag back to their white husband. Because you fell for feminists. You fell for black girl magic. As if somehow black girl magic separated you from your black father, your black brother, your black son, your black husband, your black boyfriend. You can't separate yourself from this. If wealth is held in the hands of white families, that means white woman takes money back to white man, and black woman that's hooked on black feminists just got trapped. While they're getting all the benefit from the government. Redlining. Government. We talked about redlining earlier in this show. That was government implemented. So you got white people living in a dream about capitalism when really their reality is socialism. That's what it is. Living a dream about capitalism while their reality is socialism. Ain't that something? But they get mad if anybody else get into socialism. I don't want no handouts going on unless they go into white folks. That's really what they saying. Is black business owner seeing my peers not being political. Hey, I feel you on that terms. See, it's heartbreaking that black business basically become predatory towards their own people. And their political views don't align with the collective. They want you to go buy a bag of potatoes from them when their potato prices can't compete with these other companies, other white companies. They want you to pay more for it in hopes that one day you'll be able to compete with that white company. It's impossible. Because if you put that whole $6.9 trillion together we still can't compete. So the only thing happening in that model that these black businesses want you to do, the only thing happens in that model is an individual uplift. And that same individual will turn around and look down their nose at you and say what you need to do to survive. Even though he basically pimped you. Now he's trying to tell you what you need to do to survive. This is what happened to you. We act like a bunch of lone wolves. That's exactly what we do. Now I'm going to go down because we done showed how all three presidents, white people, ate off the plate. So not make no mistakes about that. And how this is why a lot of black entrepreneurs can't survive. Because you need politics. So here's in the last presentation, I want to touch on people of color. Why we shouldn't be saying people of color. The first thing I want to say why we should have never failed for people of color is because everybody did not endure slavery. I actually listened to a presentation. Somebody had called into Yvette's show and they brought up about Who Are We, this show that came on Netflix. So I watched it. I actually had started watching it and turned it off because it made me mad out the gate. Some things just instantly make me mad because they be dumb. But I ended up watching the whole thing. Now, this show is basically anchored in slavery and the history of it, how black people that come out of slavery have been locked out. The man did a beautiful job telling the story. But in telling the story, he started talking about people of color. You can't anchor a show in slavery and start talking about people of color. So let me explain something to you. And once again, I deal in facts. Mexicans was not in slavery and did not have to deal with Jim Crow. That's a fact. Asians was not in slavery and did not have to deal with Jim Crow. People need to understand, Asians were still going to white schools during Jim Crow, and so was Mexicans. The little handful that was here was still going to white schools. So if they was allowed to go to white schools, and the only people that weren't allowed to go to those schools was ADOSHQ people, there is no people of color right then and there. And that was in the history. And then what I'm bringing you up to is current time. We got Office of New America. We got Office of New America. And this office is for immigrants. Now, I know a lot of y'all listen to some weirdos telling you're an immigrant. It's a big difference in your lineage and an immigrant lineage. See, most immigrants came here by choice. Your lineage came here by force, meaning chains, whips, kicked and beat is how you came here. You are not the same. Stop letting people trick you. Know who you are and who you're not. I say that a lot because our people get it confused a lot. Yeah, and that's exactly right. That show, this guy, he did what a lot of people do when they tell our story. First of all, they started making it people of color. And I just broke down to you why it's not people of color and why people of color do not exist. It ain't real. It's fake. It don't exist. It's a con trick. Politicians slick talk. Whatever you want to call it, it don't fit the narrative for collective uplift when it comes to the descendants of slaves. Yeah, people keep saying it's black and brown. I'm brown, okay? So stop telling me about a black and brown. We brown. Stop it. So what you get is when you, and like Johnny had said, he messed it up at the end. He messed it up when he started saying people color. And basically what he did is what most people do. We call it walking up to the line, but not crossing it. He never gave a solution to what fixed this long history of neglect on ADOS people. He didn't get a solution. See, giving the solution, when you give the solution, most of the time he know you get pushback from that. And you might lose some of your status quo. So I ain't gonna get a solution, I'm gonna just tell the story. Yeah. Some and this is true. Mexicans were considered white. And understand, not just considered. Ask someone to let you see their driver license sometime. Let me see your driver license. Let me see what it says on your driver license. Into the 90s. Yeah. That's how it was for me too. And you're right. I always ask these people, let me see what your driver license say you are. And don't be shocked when you see white. Because that's who they are. And this Office of New America show you they move like white people. And the country move like they are white people for them to be successful. And this Office of New America shows that. He started that black and brown nonsense and said black people was said Black Lives Matter was the civil rights movement. That's exact. Oh my God, he did say that. I forgot that part. He said Black Lives Matter was the civil rights movement. The dumb, like Negro. Oh man, this is what I mean when you scatter. When you ain't a critical thinker. You just gonna uplift whatever white people done uplifted. Because you know that leaves you in good sitting with them. Stop letting immigrants tell us we have no culture. That's man. They doing that bad too. He told us Sturba had no solution. Reparation is the solution. That's right. Reparations is the solution. Make no mistake. Yeah. So when I say that immigrants and Mexicans have been put on their license, they white. This Office of New America, once again, started under your favorite president, your first black president, Obama. Because I didn't care nothing for him. On November 21st, 2014, President Obama established White House Task Force on New America, a government-wide effort tasked with the better immigrants and refugees into American community. Basically, it's 26 of these things around the country. Right here where I'm at in Winston-Salem, it's 2 of them right here. Right here in Winston-Salem, 2 of them. This office is created basically after they destroyed the Freedmen Bureau that's supposed to have been for ADOS people. They basically took the blueprints of the Freedmen Bureau and made this Office of New America for immigrants coming into this country to put them on a fast track to wealth building. While your black leadership sits and tells you we people of color, I want one of you ADOS people to go to this office and see can you get in here. Hey, prove me wrong. Go to one of these offices, look them up. You can look it up. We got a list right here. Matter of fact, when you look at this source, you can see where they at. I want one of your black leaders to tell you to go here and see can you get in here. If I'm wrong, go there and get some help. And I bet you get turned around. Like I said, history has proven it ain't no people of color. In 2022, July the 10th has proven it ain't no people of color. It's white people and ADOS people and ADOS people still being starved out. Make no mistakes about it. Any black leadership used to turn people of color to you, know 100% they not with you. Because this is the proof that we still in this fight by ourselves. we still in this fight by ourselves. Make no mistakes about it. So our goal should be focused on the collective uplift of our group, not this other thing. We should know what fixes us, and we should do what we need to do to push that. We should do what we need to do to push that. I hope people learned some things here tonight that they didn't know or couldn't connect the dots to. The reason ADOS don't want to hear people color. The reason we don't deal with this sexuality. Stop listening to this junk on Facebook. These skits everybody's setting up so they can grab your attention. While the Supreme Court passed bills that takes away your memorandum rights. While the Supreme Court passed bills that saying if you go to prison and you do an appeal, no new evidence can be presented. While we look at junk talking about, a woman pushing a car without a man in it. That's garbage. That's garbage. We must stay focused on what fixes us and stop watching people just running after the bag. Most of the people creating these skits are distractions. They distractions so you don't pay attention to what's really matters. And we need to understand that. My bank account says I'm ADOS. That's right. We eating the failure. This is true. And the only way we stop eating the failure, is when we focus on what fixes us as a collective. There's 47 of these officers of New American in 2015. So it's 47 of them. 47 of them. We sitting around here watching people set up skits on social media that get clicks. While there's 47 of these, nobody talking about it. Nobody talking about it. We better get real in these spaces. We better stop saying what ain't possible, because this Office of New America proves to you what's possible. These people can't even vote and getting to eat. And we can vote and ain't getting to eat. That means we doing something critically wrong. Critically wrong. And it means we listening to a lot of the wrong people. Yeah, he might say vote, but voting in what way? Voting to make a demand for reparations? Voting to make a transform the black agenda? And where is he at in the fight to make that happen? Because he's a lawyer. He should know how important the law is, right? Yes, yeah, please read them because they critical. Here's source. Johnny probably put this in the chat already. So this is where we got all this information from. We definitely want people to definitely go check this out and do your research on it so you'll know. ADOS is definitely moving like a pack. No different than the wolves move. It's the reason they move in a pack. Believe it. One thing I want to say before I end is warriors are not born but made. And with that being said, it's gonna be times in your life that you feel uncomfortable by taking the lead or the initiative to make change happen. Don't let that stop you from doing it. It's gonna be spaces you're gonna be in that you're gonna sit and you're gonna feel alone in that space. You're gonna feel like everybody in that space is against you. And that is the moment you find out what you made of. How determined you are still to push what fixes your people. Because even in that space when people don't get what you are saying, eventually they're going to see what you are saying. Because your solution and what fixes us is going to trump any of the ideals they have. Most of these people in these spaces are there because where they grew up at and people knew them. And they got there through that type of connection. Most of them didn't get there through being politically educated or understanding the history of America. Just always know that. And push. Wherever you at, put pressure. Connect the dots. Be bold to speak truth. Let no one back you down on speaking it. Stand on that square. I'm glad. I appreciate everybody for joining. I hope you share and like this video with family members. And hopefully I'll see you next weekend. Until then, stay strong, stay focused, and continue to move the line forward for the collective, never just for the individual. Good night, fam.